What does everyone in My Hero Academia think about our favorite hothead Katsuki Bakugo? That's what we'll find out in today's video by breaking down the thoughts and opinions of friends, heroes, teachers, and even villains. So, let's get started with what everyone from Class 1A thinks of their loud classmate. And let's start with Ochaco Uraraka, who starts off pretty scared of Bakugo because he's so aggressive and loud. However, during their battle at the sports festival, she realizes he respects her as a strong opponent, which makes her feel better about him. Though they don't hang out much, she appreciates his skills, and even tries to talk to him about his rivalry with Izuku, although it annoys him. In the end, they don't become best friends, but Uraraka does respect him. Next up is Eijiro Kirishima, who thinks Bakugo is really cool and manly. However, at first he didn't like Bakugo's fighting style and even called it unmanly, but after working together, he grew to admire him. Kirishima doesn't care about his aggressive side, but he often tries to cool the hothead down. He cares about him a lot, even leading the rescue mission when he gets kidnapped by the League of Villains. Overall, Kirishima sees Bakugo as a strong friend and respects how much he's grown. The electric hero Denki Kaminari thought Bakugo was just an aggressive bully and was pretty intimidated by him at first. But over time, he started to warm up to him and even started teasing him, especially during the bus ride to USJ. Denki realized that Bakugo's determination to be a hero was really strong, which he respects. He considers him a close friend and even started calling him Kachan, like Deku. Oh, and he loves to make fun of him. Shoto Todoroki, aka Icy Hot, respects Bakugo's strength. However, he doesn't like his aggressive and loud personality. However, as they spend more time together, Shoto warms up to Bakugo and tries to be friendly with him, and ultimately he starts to consider him a friend, although Bakugo denies this. So, right now, Shoto considers Bakugo a good friend who he has a lot of respect for. Sero started off with mixed feelings on Bakugo. He calls him out on his attitude and gets annoyed by his competitiveness, but he also respects him. Hanta also appreciates Bakugo's leadership during the joint training arc, and acknowledges how strong he is. Right now, Hanta sees him as a close friend, and just like Kaminari, he also loves to make fun of him. Momo Yaoyorozu respects Bakugo's strength and his crazy drive to be the best, but, like the others, she doesn't like his loud and intense attitude. However, she does care about him as a classmate as she goes with Deku and the others to save him from the League of Villains. All girls' favorite hero, Minoru Mineta, doesn't have the best opinion of Bakugo. He finds him super loud and aggressive, calling him a sadist for how he treated Uraraka during the sports festival. Mineta often feels bullied by Bakugo, who mocks him for being a coward. But when Bakugo gets hurt during the Paranormal Liberation War, Mineta shows that he cares, bursting into tears of relief when Bakugo wakes up. So, while he's usually annoyed by Bakugo, he still worries about him when it counts. Jiro finds Bakugo really annoying at first, especially during the bus ride to USJ as she had to sit beside him. But as they team up during the joint training arc, she learns to trust Bakugo's leadership and appreciates how he has her back. So after this battle, she begins to have a lot of respect for him and even thinks of him as a friend. Tenya Ida and Bakugo don't really get along, as they both have strong personalities and different values. Tenya often calls him out for his bad behavior and questions if he really wants to be a hero. Despite their tension, Tenya does come through for him when he helps save him from the League of Villains. So although he will fight for his classmate, he still thinks that Bakugo needs to learn manners and stop being so rude. Tsuyu thinks Bakugo is really loud and arrogant, and she once said that he might not become a popular hero, which annoyed him. Despite their lack of interaction, she cares enough to worry about him, especially when he gets captured, and she feels guilty for what she said. Mina thinks Bakugo is like a firecracker, intense, a little scary, but honestly kind of awesome. She loves how fearless he is and respects that he's always pushing himself and everyone around him to go harder. Even though he acts like he's annoyed by everyone, she's convinced he cares deep down. Fumikage Tokoyami has a neutral view of Bakugo. He thinks his aggressive fighting style is a bit much, but he enjoyed their match in the sports festival. Tokoyami also appreciated how Bakugo helped him regain control over Dark Shadow during training camp, showing he respects him. So overall, Tokoyami respects him and his strength. The Twinkle hero Yuga Aoyama really looked up to Bakugo and even wanted to team up with him for the UA Sports Festival. But Bakugo didn't remember Aoyama or his name, which kind of hurt. After being revealed as the traitor, Aoyama now has so much respect for all of his classmates as all of them stood up for him. Even though Bakugo wanted to give Aoyama a few hits to settle the score for betraying the class. Mashirao Ojiro recognizes how strong Bakugo is, but he's not a fan of his attitude. So although he thinks he's insanely talented and would want to be in his team in a fight, he really doesn't like all the yelling and wishes he would tone it down a bit. Meizo Shoji sees Bakugo as a powerhouse, which he truly respects. But he thinks Bakugo could be an even better hero if he learned to connect with people and didn't have so much of an attitude. Koji Kota finds Bakugo pretty intimidating. He's loud, intense, and always seems to be yelling, which definitely scares him. But even though Bakugo's aggressive style isn't Kota's favorite, he still respects his strength and bravery, and he also knows that Bakugo would have his back in a tough spot. Rikido Sato has a lot of respect for Bakugo and his strength. After teaming up at the joint training arc, he realizes how great of a leader and teammate Bakugo is, even giving his all to free him when he is stuck during the battle, as he knows Bakugo can win them the fight with his amazing strength. So, Sato thinks very highly of him. Toru Hagakure thinks Bakugo is super intense and can be a bit scary with his aggressive attitude, but she respects how driven and passionate he is, and she wishes he would hang out more with the rest of the class to just have fun with them. Now, let's finally talk about what Izuku Midoriya think about his childhood bully. So, growing up, Bakugo bullied him a lot, calling him Deku, which really got to Izuku since it highlighted his insecurities about being quirkless. But even though Bakugo was a jerk, Izuku admired how strong he was and how much confidence he had. When they both then get into UA, Izuku starts standing up for himself more, as he realized that he wasn't the same kid Bakugo used to pick on. So while Bakugo still gets under his skin and brings out his doubts, Izuku respects him as a rival. But as Bakugo later finally reveals his true feelings to Izuku, their relationship shifts from one of pure rivalry to close friends, where they push each other to improve. And at the end, we can clearly see how much Izuku cares about Bakugo when he sees that Bakugo has died, as he goes into rage mode. And after the final war arc fights, they truly become best friends. Having talked about everyone from Class 1A, we now need to talk about Class 1B, and we'll of course start with Naito Monoma, who pretty much sees Bakugo as arrogant and way too violent. He doesn't take Bakugo seriously as a hero and constantly mocks him, especially during events like the UA Sports Festival where he goes out of his way to provoke him. Monoma thinks Bakugo's recklessness will eventually make him fail, but during the joint training battle, he's genuinely shocked when Bakugo actually shows teamwork and protects his teammates. Later, when Bakugo gets badly injured by Shigaraki, Monoma is unexpectedly devastated, realizing Bakugo's drive and heroism go deeper than he thought. Just like the others in Class 1B, Tetsu despises Bakugo's arrogance, and Tetsu even wants to fight him. However, when Kirishima fights Bakugo during the UA Sports Festival, he is shocked by how strong Bakugo truly is, and he does respect his strength, even though he still thinks he is way too arrogant. Now let's talk about what some students at Shiketsu High School think about Bakugo. And let's start with everyone's favorite Kami Utsushimi. Kami thinks Bakugo is pretty interesting. She doesn't mind his aggressive vibe and even calls him out for his old school ways of winning kids over, which annoys him. But she also finds a way to make him laugh using her quirk to create an illusion of Shoto. In the end, she notes that he actually seems well-mannered when he's not shouting. Kami's classmate Seiji Shishikura truly dislikes Bakugo, as they are polar opposites in regards to becoming heroes. Seiji believes Bakugo is vulgar and undeserving of becoming a hero. Later, when Bakugo makes fun of Seiji's name in his eyes, he dislikes him even more. Having talked about almost every hero student in Japan, we now need to start talking about the pro heroes and teachers. And just like in the last video, let's start talking about Class 1A's homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa, aka Eraserhead. Aizawa has a complicated view of Bakugo. At first, he finds Bakugo annoying because of his loud and reckless behavior, but he eventually sees how talented Bakugo is and even defends him during the sports festival. Eventually, Aizawa is proud of how much Bakugo has grown, especially when he learns to cooperate with others. He really believes Bakugo can become the #1 hero despite his rough edges. Aizawa also cares about Bakugo's safety and feels guilty when things get dangerous for him, especially during his fight with Shigaraki. But overall, he truly respects him and thinks he is worthy of becoming one of Japan's greatest heroes. Another faculty member of UA is Midnight, who thinks Bakugo is loud and arrogant. And after hearing his interview with Mount Lady, Midnight told Aizawa that Bakugo should avoid the media completely, as his arrogant attitude will make him very unpopular with the civilians. Having started talking about Bakugo's famous interview with Mount Lady, we of course have to talk about what Mount Lady herself thinks about the hothead. And she thinks that he's a weird kid with anger issues, and even saying that he has a problem with humanity. Now let's talk about the #1 hero, Endeavor, who initially dislikes Bakugo's blunt attitude after Bakugo called him a jerk. Although not loving his attitude, he ends up recognizing his potential and even gives him tips to improve. Later, after Bakugo helped save Natsuo, Endeavor is truly grateful to him, and has shown to have great respect for Bakugo's drive. Best Jeanist sees Bakugo's potential and raw strength, but can't stand his attitude. During Bakugo's internship, Jeanist tries to help him work on his image, even giving him a slick side part hairstyle. Of course, Bakugo isn't having it, and he pushes back hard, thinking the whole experience was a waste. Still, Jeanist believes Bakugo has what it takes to be a great hero, even if Jeanist doesn't think he quite acts like one yet. Later, in a brutal showdown against Shigaraki, Jeanist is blown away by Bakugo's determination as he charges into the fight, even being severely injured. When Bakugo finally falls in battle, Jeanist is heartbroken, screaming out as he realizes that Bakugo's heart has stopped, but he of course survived, and Jeanist couldn't be happier. The fierce number 5 hero Mirko thinks Bakugo is a brat and way too cocky. Having similar personalities, Mirko can't stand him, and called him Dynamite, which of course made him even angrier. So overall, let's just say that Mirko isn't Bakugo's biggest fan. Now, we finally reach All Might. All Might sees Bakugo as a promising but initially reckless and ego-driven hero. While he doesn't like his aggressive fighting style and pride, he respects his fearless attitude, which reminds him of his own mentor's teachings. Over time, All Might's relationship with Bakugo grows. He tries giving advice, even if Bakugo rarely listens, and is proud of how he learns to work better with others. After Bakugo's kidnapping and All Might losing his powers, he reassures him he's not to blame, which brings them closer. In the end, he's really proud of his growth and is honored when Bakugo picks a hero name, Dynamite, inspired by him. Now, let's talk about what the villains think about the explosive hero, and let's start with the Demon King, All For One. All For One didn't care much about him at first. He only saw him as bait to get to All Might and mess with Deku, using him as a pawn to make Deku suffer. But that changed during All For One's battle against Bakugo and Deku, as All For One started to get really irritated by the explosive hero, as he reminded him of Kudo, the second One For All user, as they both had the same stubborn, unbreakable spirit. That resemblance started to bug him, and he decided Bakugo wasn't just a side character, he was a real threat with great power. Finally, we have Tomura Shigaraki, who has had mixed feelings toward Bakugo. At first, he's curious about him after seeing his strength and rebellious attitude at the UA Sports Festival, even thinking he'd make a good fit for the League of Villains. But when Bakugo rejects the offer and openly says he wants to be a hero, Shigaraki is both annoyed and impressed by his guts. Over time, Shigaraki loses interest, seeing him as just another enemy to take down, even taunting him for being weaker than Deku. But during their final fight, when Bakugo lands a devastating hit, Shigaraki actually panics, realizing Bakugo isn't as extra as he thought. It's a mix of anger, surprise, and a weird sense of respect that Shigaraki doesn't want to admit. And there you have it. Everyone's thoughts about our favorite hot-headed hero. Which character do you want me to talk about next? Comment down below and I'll make sure to make a video on your favorite character. Thanks for watching, and if you love My Hero Academia just like me, I suggest you watch this video next.